Hello, and welcome to the Summer Series 2.0 in partnership with H&H. We're back again and going bigger and bolder than last year. For those that don't know me, I'm Matthew Manners, or Matt Manners, founder and chief inspiration officer of Inspiring Workplaces. And at the heart of Inspiring Workplaces is you, being part of our global movement to change the world through the world of work. The Summer Series was created last year as a product of its environment. Being locked down in a pandemic, we couldn't hold our national conferences all over the world, and we didn't want to purely replicate a conference online. So the unique Summer Series was born, and it was so well received. Even though there's light at the end of the tunnel, for lots of us, hopefully with the vaccine rollout going across the world, as an organization, we're still working remotely. Hence the backdrop being a bedroom, a different bedroom to last year, as I've actually gone and bought a new home and decided to renovate almost all of it because I wasn't stressed enough with everything else that was going on around me. So you're currently in my childhood bedroom, as I had to find somewhere for my wife and puppy to live for a few months. So welcome to the Summer Series and my childhood. Just shows you the unique circumstances we've all gone through and are still going through. So with the Summer Series, there's 6 weeks of daily sessions to inspire you, to instruct you, to guide you around multiple facets of the world of work. Whether it's building trust, empathy, DEI strategy, and inclusive cultures, or to an effective comms plan protecting against burnout, or whatever the employee experience now looks like in 2021 and beyond, the Summer Series 2.0 will have everything. So tune in every weekday at 8 a.m. if you're in San Francisco, 11 a.m. in New York, 4 p.m. in England and London, 5 p.m. in Berlin or Lagos, right through to July 14, 2021. That's right, we're going for 6 weeks. After every session, we're also going to make it available on demand for those that have registered for the Summer Series. So you don't have to be here every day. You can find them on the stories section of our website and also underneath the name on the agenda page. We want you to consume the content in the best way possible for you and the life you're currently living. The lines are still very blurred for a lot of us, and we appreciate that. And we want to make it as easy as possible for you to become better at what you do. Each day we'll have just one amazing storyteller, total focus on them, lasting 20 minutes. It'll be quick enough for you to take time out of your day for some daily insight and inspiration. You can engage that storyteller via Q&A and myself and share the session with your colleagues. Going on this journey with us, we have 30 amazing storytellers from all over the world, some award-winning case studies, best-selling authors, the Inspiring Workplaces team who'll be working tirelessly each day to deliver for you, and my co-hosts. So we should say hello to them quickly. Let's please welcome them to the stage right now. And first is a friend, as well as a colleague, a managing director of the Inspiring Workplaces Academy, Ruth Dance.
Hey.
How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm really glad the sun has arrived here in the UK, and I'm even more excited that the Summer Series 2.0 is here.
And allergies with the sun as well. Hay fever's gone absolutely bonkers today. So
my voice isn't normally this croaky.
Yeah. My eyes have been going crazy. So what are you looking forward to over the next 6 weeks?
Oh Matt, I'm so excited. I feel like the last 18 months has been so challenging, right? And every day there's been like these news briefings and news articles, and we're just reading about difficult, sad, challenging times. And I'm just really excited that every day at 4 p.m, because I'm in the UK, that I know that there's this daily source of learning and inspiration and something that's going to really uplift me and really just help me like learn and grow and excite me as well. And I know that because I know there's an incredible lineup of speakers that the team have been working really, really hard on. I'm also really excited. I said this when we ran the 24-hour Inspirathon, to see what the key themes are going to be, to see what are these experts and speakers and authors and all these people around the world that are sharing with us, what are the key themes that are topical right now, and what are the key themes we need to be working on. So I'm just so excited. I'm so excited it's here, and I know it's here every day for the next 6 weeks. So yeah. And what about you?
Oh, that's a question. Not usually having to be to answer questions. I think for me, last year on reflection, it really it changed my opinion on lots of things. It opened my eyes to lots of things. Not that I'm a closed book by any stretch, but just hearing different stories and experiences and be able to learn from them. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Just developing myself as a human being, I think, over the next 6 weeks and learning as much as I possibly can. Just being a sponge. There you go. So thanks, Ruth. We need to get to our other awesome co-host. So I'll see you over the next 6 weeks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And so to our next co-host, Helen Bissett, Managing Director of our partner H&H.
Hey,
hello,
hi, Matt. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, wonderful.
Look, thank you so much for being our lead partner, our main partner for the summer series. It's actually enabled us to make this free for professionals all over the world, who have that same passion to try and change the world. And that just wouldn't have been possible without your support and your support is probably the best word I think for that. So are you able to let us know a little bit more about H&H, why you wanted to partner and what you're looking forward to over the next 6 weeks? And I'll leave you to it as you go through that.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm really excited to be here too. The word excitement seems to be a theme here. And I'm actually also very grateful that the sun has actually come out in time for the summer series. For our friends around the world, it has been nothing like summer in the UK over the last little while, more wellies than sun cream. But I have my summer t-shirt on in homage to the summer arriving, because there's nothing more quintessentially UK summer than seagulls, deck chairs and burnt heads. We are absolutely delighted to be able to support the summer series this year. I love the design, the energy of the team to make working life better, and it's wonderful to watch the Inspiring Workplaces movement grow from strength to strength. The summer series, why we were really keen to really support, is it ties in superbly with H&H's purpose of creating possibilities that so others can see what's possible for them. And never in the history of anything ever have we had such unprecedented opportunity to make lasting changes in our workforce. And I'm sure absolutely all of you will be with us when you think about your workplace. COVID has forced everyone's hands, and it has opened us up to all sorts of new possibilities. And I'm sure, like me, you're holding out hope that this massive system interrupt is the spark of a long hoped for revolution, a revolution that will significantly increase the number of employees who feel engaged and fulfilled at work very soon. And in fact, it's starting to happen now, isn't it really, that two worlds will be colliding as workplaces start opening up for business, a world where the old and the new ways of working will vie for position in a post-pandemic environment, a battle which my view really is a battle between a model based on supervision and oversight versus one based on autonomy and trust. And I, for one, think that I owe it to future generations to keep our organisations moving forward rather than reverting into the past. So this summer series could not have come at a better time for us to help with that, to help us stay motivated, educated and inspired for the inevitable challenges that lie ahead of us this summer.
Thanks so much, Helen. And that's why we're so stoked to have you as a partner. I couldn't have even begun to try and put it as brilliantly as that. So thank you so much. And thank you for seeing your host now. I'm sure a lot of people are too. So there you are, everybody. They're your hosts. I've got to look at the mic, the cam, not the screen. They're your hosts for the 6-week summer series. And we're almost ready to kick off. So I'll say goodbye to you both, and we're almost there to our first speaker. Bye-bye. Our summer series, we usually have about a 2-minute intro before each speaker, by the way. This is a unique launch for the 6 weeks, so I hope you forgive us 5 to 10 minutes of doing a proper intro to what is ahead of us. So I also want to thank all our partners. As I said, with regards to H&H, it's impossible to have done this without them. It's been a very challenging time. We won't have had a conference for the 3 years by the next time our next one is scheduled to take place. 3 years. I still have to say it like multiple times because that's a long time. Our partners share the same passion to change the world through the world of work and have enabled to deliver this for free. And without them, impossible. So thank you to H&H in alphabetical order, Barnett Waddingham, Benefex, Dynamic Signal, Home, LifeSum, OC Tanner, Populo, Protivity, PX Hub, and Reward Gateway. So before I introduce our first speaker, I lastly want to thank our founding 20 Chief Inspiration Officers from Inspire Cities, which we just launched in April. For those that don't know, Inspire Cities is the local arm of the global Inspiring Workplaces movement, helping create people-first organizations. The next events after the Summer Series 2.0 will actually be in person, face-to-face across these 20 to 30 cities all over the world. Starting in September, they will have a unique format focused on storytelling, no screens, taking place in something we call the Inspiring and putting human connection at the heart of everything. I'd recommend you subscribe to your local city community today and contact us if you can't see it on the website. It might not exist, and you can maybe own and run that yourself. So to our first Summer Series storyteller, Paul Zak. What an honor. Paul Zak is Chief Immersion Officer at Immersion. He's a professor, scientist, speaker, and entrepreneur hailing from the other side of the Atlantic to me. So our first speaker's from North America. And he specializes in neuroeconomics. And this is the topic where I discovered his amazing work and have had the honor to meet him beginning of this year. I originally read his article on Harvard Business Review entitled Neuroscience of Trust, coming from his book, The Trust Factor. It's one of the most read articles on the site, and I'm positive you'll have seen it. The image is on LinkedIn as a tied knot. And whilst it came out a few years ago, it was prescient. It was so ahead of its time. And my last speaking engagement before in the flesh in January 2019, I talked all about trust, empowerment, and autonomy, and the fact that we need to treat our people with trust. You don't earn it, F that kind of thing. They get it from day one. And to be able to bring a man like Paul to launch the Summer Series and to talk about this topic in a much more articulated way than myself is an honor. So please, without further ado, let's get the Summer Series going, and please welcome Paul.
Hello, good morning, Paul. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you, Matt.
How are you? How was your long weekend?
Really wonderful. I'm so excited to join everybody here. So we've had a great time getting to know each other. And, to me, first of all, the name of the company is so important, Inspiring Workplaces. So I really disagree strongly with this Gallup data that is bandied about everywhere, that 2/3 of employees are disengaged. Bullshit. I just disagree completely. You and I have been to many, many workplaces, and I see individuals who are really excited, who are passionate, who are inspired. And I think the Gallup data points fingers at the individual instead of saying, what about that organization of humans, right? How we communicate to them, how we given them a sense of purpose. So all the things that you do are so important. It's not blaming the people, it's really blaming the organization. So I think, high performance organizations really come from three things. I call this the POP model. It's the people, it's how you organize those people, and it's the purpose that they share. And so all three of those are things that you can manage for higher performance. So people is hiring the right people. That not only includes technical fit, culture fit. So let's just hold that one for now. Let's talk about organizing those people. So to me, always that's a neuroscience problem.
I will leave you to do your thing, and I'd just like to say thanks again, and thanks for your kind words about Inspiring Workplaces. But the floor is yours, and I'll be back with questions later. Thank you so much, Paul.
That's good. Yeah, thanks, Matt. So I'm going to talk about how to organize people. So and we'll talk a little about purpose as well. So I can take people who are really inspired, really motivated, and I can grind them down. I can mistreat them. I can scream at them. Right? All these things that are demotivating. And so it's really incumbent on leaders of organizations, even leaders of teams, to think about the underlying human being that is part of that team. So a couple preliminaries. Again, I'm going to take this from a neuroscience perspective. That is my area of expertise. And so when I think about that, I think about what motivates humans to work together at all. And so when we look at human neuroanatomy compared to, say, other mammals, we see that we are much more sensitive in a true anatomical way to social signals. So we really are designed to interact with others. So takeaway number one for you, which is putting people together to work on projects to work together, is not unnatural. It's not evil. It's not exploitative. Our brains are designed to do that. We are social creatures. We want to work together. You can throw us in a group where people don't know each other, will work very rapidly. So this old thing they taught you in Economics 101, what's the term? Labor provides disutility. As the kids would say, it sucks to work and I got to pay you because it's so awful. No, actually, if you look at the underlying neuroanatomy, we are social creatures. We like to work together. So that's the first thing. You're not cajoling, forcing, right? Again, not everybody, not all the time, but our brains are designed to work in groups. So that's great. So to work in groups effectively, as Matt said, we need a couple of things. Number one, I've got to trust the members of my organization. If I don't trust those members, then I'm burning a lot of bandwidth in my brain thinking about what's going on with her. Is she going to fire me? Is my job going away? And I'm not focused on task, which is creating value, right, for the organization and ultimately for the organization's clients. So to the extent that I can increase the amount of trust in that organization, then I'm, again, giving my employees an opportunity to really be inspired, to really perform at the highest levels. The first thing, I've got to trust my team members. And then the second is I've got to tell them where we're going and why. So that's what I call purpose. So you can think of purpose in kind of two senses. One is what I call transactional purpose, how we do business, right? That's the processes. But I'm really talking about a larger issue, which is what I call transformative purpose. Why we're here, right? Why do we exist as an organization? So one of my long-term colleagues at Claremont Graduate University, where I teach, Peter Drucker, he, as you know, passed away about 10 years ago, said at its core, every organization's purpose is to improve people's lives. So if we accept that, then we have a greater purpose, right? Business is about service. It's about making the world a better place. That's why they pay for whatever we're doing. So in organizations that not only articulate that purpose, but that purpose is lived, it's part of the DNA of the organization, is why we know we're here. Those organizations perform at a much higher level. And when we look at brain activity in experiments we've run in my lab for people who understand the social purpose of what they're doing versus just doing a task, we see much more neurologic immersion. You're absorbed more into that task. You perform better, you perform more efficiently, and you enjoy it more. So we have a couple levers here that we can think about pushing on to create inspiring workplaces. The first is building trust. So I'm going to spend a little time on the neuroscience of that. And the second is having this lived purpose, right? So the lived part's important. So let me give you an example of that, then I'll go back to trust. I was at LinkedIn some years ago up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and every group I met with at LinkedIn, when I walked in the door, they said, at LinkedIn, our purpose is to make our members more productive and more successful. Okay, those are measurable, right? They have all your data on your job. They can see when you're advancing. So they use it as a screen so that when they're taking on a new task, they have to ask, does it do one of those two things or both? If not, we shouldn't be doing it. Wonderful. But second, importantly, everybody said it when I walked in the room. It's the starting point for every conversation. So when you are thinking about how to articulate purpose in your own organization, think of that clear, short, transparent phrase. Use that phrase all the time. Make sure it's part of every conversation, but really includes the why statement. So the important thing about purpose is not just what we're doing, but why we're doing it. So if you add in the why, then you actually get much more impact. Okay, so that's purpose. Let's go back to trust. So again, trust is creating more bandwidth. So I'm going to work more effectively with people in which I have trust, in which I can connect to them. So the thing that Matt and the group did before I started talking, which was, hey, let's chat a little bit. right? Very important. We do that when we're in person all the time, just naturally. Hey, how was your weekend, Matt? Great, right? So we can do that when we're doing video conference. We can do that when we have a larger team, a team that is perhaps changing team members. Spend some time to build those connections. So when we look at the underlying neurologic activity that's associated with trust, with connection, for that matter, with love, they're very, very similar in the brain. So you can think of love in the philia sense, right? Friendship. So those are actually almost identical in the brain. And so all the factors that you normally do to build friendships, to build connections, facilitate trust, right? I'm getting to know you at a deeper level, not this superficial level, just you as you are. So the research I've done, and Matt mentioned in the HBR article and in the book it came from, the excerpts from my book, Trust Factor, identified 8 components that allow organizations to measure and manage their teams for high trust. I won't go through all these in detail, but I'll just go through a couple real quickly. So basically, it's a way to measure within the organization, am I creating the opportunities for people to connect to each other, to learn to trust each other so that they can perform at the highest levels? Again, they have more focus on creating value than on worrying about what's going on socially. So those 8 factors magically spell out an acronym. And that acronym is oxytocin. So some of you know my lab was the first about 20 years ago to develop a protocol to measure the human brain's acute production of oxytocin, this neurochemical that we showed is strongly associated with trust, with generosity, with charity, with many pro-social behaviors. So those 8 factors are in order: ovation, expectation, yield, transfer, openness, caring, invest, and natural. So I won't go through all those, but all those are measurable and they are can be managed through changing in policy. So let me just take the first one, ovation. So that's my word for recognizing high performers. So let's talk about what the science shows for that. So recognition, awesome. But if I want to have the biggest impact on brain and behavior, that recognition is more powerful when it comes close in time to when the goal is met or exceeded. That really means a week or less. So constant recognition. It's more powerful when it's unexpected. It's more powerful when it's tangible, when it comes from peers, when it's done publicly. So Matt just finishes a big 3-month project for a client. And then at our next all hands meeting, because I know Matt loves coffee so much, I come in with a big basket of fancy coffees that I know he's going to love. And I say, hey, Matt, really want to recognize how wonderful you guys and your team did working on this big project. Here's some coffee. So I'm showing that I know him personally by giving him a tangible gift. I'm also doing this publicly. And then we do a debrief. Hey, Matt, tell us how how this project came about, how you actually were so successful at finishing this project on time, on budget, client super happy. So the ovation is not just recognition, it's a chance to share information about best practice, right? And so that's also very important. So when we have that best practice, we're recognizing excellence publicly and we're identifying the ways that others can be similarly recognized by this community of individuals we call our colleagues at work. So again, all those factors can be similarly measured and managed for high performance, and the neuroscience tells us how we can do this most efficiently. So I'll end up with just one more notion. So that sounds like just giving you a lot of information. So now your brain is getting full. Matt mentioned my company, Immersion Neuroscience. We've developed technologies that pull data from smartwatches and let us infer what the brain's doing in real time, so that we can assess how effectively people value what they're doing, whether that's accounting, working with clients. It allows our clients to assess how much discretionary effort people will put in. So just human nature. If you enjoy something more, if it's really compelling and immersive to you, you're going to work at it harder, right? So by knowing what those factors are that are really inspiring, that really turn people on neurologically, rather than asking them, because it's a hard question to answer. But if I look at your brain, I can tell how much your brain values this experience. And so we look at people at work who are measuring their own immersion. We find that a subset of those tasks tend to be most immersive, and those varies by individual. So by having a technology that lets us assess what really inspires you, then we can begin to do what I call neural job crafting. You begin to task people into areas that they just love doing, and sometimes they don't even know those things, right? So again, in the old world, pre-inspiring workplaces world, might be, hey Bob, we know we're short someone in accounting. You ever got to do more accounting for this month? They're like, all right, I guess so. But what if we said, hey Bob, we actually have been looking at your data. You love doing accounting, and not so much with talking to clients. And so yeah, we've got some openings in accounting. Do you want to spend a month doing some more accounting and just see if that's more interesting than working with clients? Oh yeah, let's try that. Right? That sounds like an interesting experiment to try. Again, I may still want to work with clients, but if I really know what makes me inspired at work, then I can focus on that. And the precursor for being immersed in your task at work is psychological safety. So it's the notion that became very popular with Google, found it was the best indicator of high-performing teams. And Google did that on a survey that they created, looking at a number of items. We developed the first physiologic measure of psychological safety, which again is the precursor for trust, for immersion. So if I'm anxious, if I just don't feel comfortable in my workplace, particularly as we start going back into the office, and as we really work on being much more inclusive, and make sure everybody's really comfortable. Again, if you're not comfortable, I'm burning bandwidth just hanging on with my fingernails, trying to get through the day, rather than being a great colleague, rather than creating value. And so that those are important metrics. So because this technology allows this measurement in real time, I actually am measuring my own immersion right now, and I'm going to share it with you. So how about that? We'll actually look and see what an exciting speaker I am. Crazy good. So I'm looking at data here. I've been collecting my data. So this is when Matt started talking. I turned my wearable on a little earlier. You can see intro here. This is when Matt starts talking, everybody's chatting. This is when I start talking. For some reason, I lost a little data in here. Now, if I stop this, then I can actually get a bunch of metrics on how effectively I've been able to connect to you people. So again, my claim was that we are a connecting species. We are a social species. We want to connect to other people. And if we're doing that, then we should see how effectively we're doing that, rather than guessing and rather than asking in surveys, which, are okay, but it's hard to actually get to those kind of details. It's certainly hard to get it on a second-by-second basis. Then, I think really creating inspiring workplaces requires having the right technology to measure this. My wireless is a little slow because I've got kids in school sucking up bandwidth. So give us a second to update, and then we'll get some data on how effectively this meeting was. So again, this nice breakdown second by second. So immersion runs from 0 to 100, benchmarks around 50. And so, I'm right on average. And so this is when I was doing email. Green is when I'm really super immersed. Gray is kind of around average, and red a little bit tuned out. And so you see that I put in some notes here. And so, I started talking around here. I might have moved my wrist and lost a little bit of data, but I can go zoom in and ask, how effectively was this factor? So here's the psychological safety. I was kind of unsafe. I think it's because I was half that data was before I started talking, and I was focused very clearly on doing some emails. And so I find I'm a little bit under average here. I can look at the high parts and the low parts. So here's the kind of high points for me during this talk. Here's some of the low points. Just me, so I can look at the distribution of people who are really super captivated. I can look at people who were, how safe they were. I can get this distribution. Again, no personally identifiable information here, just a secret code for my data. And then if I want to zoom in, for example, if I record this audio or video, then I can actually sync that, or the platform where I'm likely syncing with the data. You're going to ask, well, what went on right here? What was this high point right here? Okay, I was super absorbed here. Great. So again, if you had data for this, for a larger group of individuals, they can ask, okay, something interesting was going on here, right? So, it's creating a technology so that we're not in the hope as a strategy anymore. We're really into clear measuring what people really care about. And I think that is fascinating, right? We're creating caring workplaces where people are motivated, they're inspired, they put all their energy into what they're doing for others, right? This is a service organization. Every job has a big service orientation to it. So by having a measurement technology, then we can actually assess how effectively we're providing that service. So I think I'll take a breath there, and then Matt, maybe we can chat a little bit, and we'll just go from there. I have to take questions from the audience as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. I'd love to go into a bit more of the eight factors actually, and the fact that you're linking it to psychological safety, which is obviously one of our core pillars at Inspiring Workplaces. We essentially want to create a world where every workplace is psychologically safe, and creating that inclusive culture. By doing that, I think if people feel like they're their true selves and they can give themselves, they can offer opinion, businesses perform more. But the first point that really jumped out at me was the bandwidth of the brain, and I think that jumped at me for two reasons. I think all of us have struggled with bandwidth of the brain over the past 15 months in many different ways for many different reasons. So I'm almost wanting to come back and ask for a tip on how we can actually manage bandwidth a bit better. But to actually hear it in the term of, if you're worrying about people and not trusting them, you're not putting the bandwidth into performance, I think is a really clear and direct signal for those organizations and people that aren't putting trust in their people. Actually, it's just a total waste of energy and brain resource, where you could be focusing on customers, team, and performance of the business as well. So that really resonated with me. And if you do have tips on creating bandwidth, that I think I would be very interested in that, and I'm sure the audience would be too.
I do, yeah. Thanks, Matt. So part of that, I think there's two ways to answer that great question. One is of those 8 components I talked about, one of those, which I call natural, just being able to be yourself at work, right? So
yeah.
if you have to put on this sort of facade, work mat and home mat, you're burning energy, right? So you're burning that bandwidth. So really, it's creating a workplace where people feel comfortable, they feel relaxed, they can be themselves. You can make a joke and be funny. And so I think all those things just tell us that people are going to just have more energy. So what we found in high trust workplaces is that not only do people perform better, but they actually shed the stress of work more rapidly when work is over. So they're just able to, like, yeah, I'm going to burn some energy when I'm at work. I have a lot of cognitive energy I've got to put in. But when that's over, when I'm connected to people around me, I can let it go. So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And the second part of that is really, again, kind of having measurement. So as you know, Google famously does a kind of a 3-minute sort of centering exercise before they have meetings, and that can just be closing your eyes and breathing deep. One of Immersion's longest term clients is Accenture. This is all public information, and so they have been using Immersion to optimize the $1 billion of training they produce annually for their employees. And they found that individuals cannot stay immersed in a task, in a training, for more than 20 minutes, right? So what they're finding is breaks, right? So we think, particularly working from home, hey, I'm an adult, I can sit here for 3 hours and not have a drink and not go to the bathroom. So I think it's really more really in and then take a little breather. So for listeners, think of the brain like a muscle. So just like when you work out, you need some recovery time. Neurons do the same thing. Neurons actually fatigue. And when those neurons are fatigued, they just need a little bit of breather. And that breather could be 2, 3, 4 minutes. But if you get up, if you move, which our bodies are designed to do, not to sit still, then I think it's a great way. So immersive, be sucked in, think of immersion almost like flow, where I'm kind of losing track of time. I'm really enjoying this task. And then take a breather, walk around. I have my loyal German Shepherds here at my feet. And so I'll go down there and rub him a little bit, and blah, 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 gets me out of my chair and gets me a little extra oxytocin and makes my dog happy, and then I can go back to work.
Fantastic, because we also talk about time management and time boxing, and that people like and myself use that hour, have the hour slot focus. But actually, what we're saying is 20 minutes real focus, have a break, recharge the neurons, and then go again, even if it's on the same task.
Yeah, it is. And so what Accenture has done with training is what I call the 20-20-20 rule, which is 20 minutes of presentation, 20 minutes of directed work, like table work, and then 20 minutes of debrief. So we can think about that too. We can think of 20-20-20 for, say, cognitive work you're doing. So 20 minutes of writing, take a little break, and then read what you've written, right? And then maybe share it with a colleague. So I think it's breaking up in chunks. We see the same thing, by the way, in education. So once education all went, because of COVID, all went remote, having kids of any age, but sitting for 6 hours in front of a screen, it's the worst. It just doesn't work. So it's really smaller, participatory, flipped classrooms.
And that was quite good to know that actually 20 minutes is scientifically backed, because that's what we're trying to do for the summer series, 20 to 25 minutes, and then that's your daily bites. That's good to know. I think positive, negative. I suppose I'm a bit English and a bit of a cynic now and again. So Big Brother is watching, having a wearable that is monitoring your physiological response to things, I think is an absolutely fantastic step forward, because it can help protect people and give you almost like a traffic light system how people are doing. So my first instinct was, I'm not sure whether I'd want to be wearing that and my organization monitoring me in that sense. But then I went forward to, in the world that we're coming out to, especially office-based workers, where the lines are so blurred and boundaries are very hard to create if you're working remotely all the time, or now the majority of the time. I think this could be a real fantastic guardrail to protecting people against the things like burnout, whilst creating items like safety and trust, because you'll be able to, I suppose, if people are starting to feel that bandwidth going, that I suppose it would measure unsafe moments if people are starting to feel that way.
Yeah, exactly. So again, there's no personally identifiable information on the site. So the platform gives you a secret code for your data. So from a supervisor's perspective, all he or she sees is aggregated data. And I'll share some examples in just a second. Why would the individual do that? Because he or she will actually get feedback on their watch about their own underlying immersion and psychological state. And then you can begin to self-manage. And I think really that's the goal. That's also very Peter Drucker. I loved Peter. He was just a wonderful man. So he wrote, some of you guys may know, but Matt and I know, in the 60s, he wrote an article about knowledge workers. I mean, he, I think, invented this word. And he said, if you're a knowledge worker, which is everybody today, if you're a janitor, you're a knowledge worker. You're using technology. If you're a knowledge worker, you have skills and you need to be your own CEO. So how can I be my own CEO? I've actually got to have knowledge about what my workday is like. So it's super easy to sync your calendar with your immersion and your psychological safety, and just actually look at, hey, during the day, what's my best time for meetings? When should I be doing this? What am I really enjoying so much at work? And so I think that can be done by the individual without sharing that with a supervisor, right? So again, if you have a lot of trust, you may say, hey, Supervisor Susan, let's talk about my data. I just downloaded my data for the last month. Let's talk about, kind of what I'm doing. And it really changes that dynamic. You probably know, Matt, someone famous said, the war for talent is over, talent has won. That's absolutely true today. I mean, US is completely opening up, and I've been traveling, every city I go to, almost every store has signs, we're hiring. So all these knowledge workers who are on the phone with us, you guys may supervise a lot of them who are on here. Think about those individuals as having a lot of power. So how can I empower you to be your own CEO? I've got to give you the chance to actually grow, to have clarity, transparency, be natural at work, but also to know really what you love and give you a chance to do more of that.
And I suppose knowledge is power, to coin another phrase. And if you have the wearable and you're able to see yourself in these moments, you can actually use that to speak with your manager, director, CEO, and say, look, I know I can see that I just need to have a break for the next hour or 20 minutes, or manage your time better, and on much micro and macro at the same time, I suppose, because it's right there, and that can be used. That data can support a discussion, because at the moment I feel like those discussions happen in the ether. It's it's more feelings and how you're feeling. And I think some organizations are battling to work out how to deal with that. Whereas if you have data supporting that, you can have a much more constructive argument, and you're being backed up by that data.
And yet the data we're collecting are really on feeling state. So again, the key components of immersion are attention to the task, that's cognitive. But the second is this oxytocin-driven emotional resonance. Like, do I love this task? Am I really turned on by it? And that's continuous variable. It varies, as you saw. So it's a way to quantify what's very difficult to articulate consciously. And yet that's the most important thing at work to me. If you're in aspiring workplaces, I am turned on, right? I am thinking about this on the weekend. I worked almost a 2 to 3, we had 3-day weekend. I worked 2 of those 3 days because I love it. Not because I had to, no one's paying me, right? I just love what I do. And I'm like, man, this is great. And, my kids were gone doing stuff. I'm like, great, this is a great chance for me to catch up on stuff that I love doing. Isn't that what we want for a workplace? To have people so inspired that actually putting in more time, more discretionary effort than they're required to. So again, I think we have to break, and you're doing a great job, Matt, to break this old-fashioned, economics, almost Marxist view of workers and capitalists and some kind of conflict. No, we're actually trying to do something great. And if we understand the purpose and if we trust the people we're working with, we can do great things for the world.
I think that's an absolutely fantastic way to leave it. Brilliant words from a brilliant man. And I really appreciate your time and insight, Paul. And this will be on demand with Paul's approval on the website. And we'll be back again. So I want to say thank you to Paul first, and we'll say goodbye to you. And I would look up all his work and what Immersion are doing. I'd love to know where I was during this talk, actually. I should have been wearing one of your wearables because this is where I get my energy from. Trying to get people like yourselves to help other people create better workplaces. And just by doing this, I feel really fulfilled. So thank you so much. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Matt. You're wonderful.
Thank you. Take care. So we'll say goodbye to Paul. And thank you to you. It's 40 minutes, so we went double our normal slots. But as I say, I hope you'll forgive us this opening day. Will be 20-25 minute slots a day. And as Paul just said, that's perfect for the brain. We'll be back for 6 weeks. The topics are so wide ranging. You can attend every single one or catch it on demand. Thank you for being part of our movement. Thank you for the work you're doing in incredibly hard circumstances. And we will see you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.